Guys, you guys are here for some info, you guys are here for some training, and I am all for that. In fact, I went super Libra and like couldn't make up my mind. So half an hour before team call started, I texted Ashley and I was like, how much longer do we have? Or am I going at 7:30? Am I going at 8? Because I feel like changing my whole color story. So I changed my whole color story. This presentation is like 15 minutes old. um, Getting some color in there from my neutrals. But I hope that everyone is doing fine. I'm going to get set up here on my screen. That way I can pull up the chat and answer any questions you guys have. Whoa. What's happening here? Look at this. Technical difficulties. Sorry, guys. Okay, here we are. Okay, show of hands. Who knows their top 5 strengths? Okay. Awesome. Use that typing skill set of yours, and I would like for everyone to type their top 5 skills into the chat so I can see. Like Ashley said, I love personality tests. The first personality test I ever took was the Myers-Briggs personality test. Has anyone ever taken the Myers-Briggs personality test? It tells you if you're an introvert or an extrovert and how you process things and how you question things and how you articulate. So I was an ESTJ. I'm curious to know who else has taken that. The next personality test that I took, and I thought that these were all fun things to like, kind of like a horoscope where it's like you figure out kind of like how your personality works and how you like what things you prioritize and things you think are important, right? How your demeanor is, how you handle certain situations. I felt like that's what all of these quizzes and tests were like. And so the next one that I took was really insightful because I felt like everything that I was reading, I was like reading about my life story, about like how I had a conversation yesterday or how I handled a fight when I was in high school or how I handled a celebration or, something, achieving something like in the college or early 20s, right? That was actually the strengths quiz that a lot of you guys took, or some of you guys are going to be taking soon, where instead of focusing on the opportunistic things that we as human beings are normally gravitating to, right? Like, if you, like, for example, if I were to ask, I'm going to use Kristen because I mentor her and we talk a lot from pretty much every day. If you were to ask Kristen, tell me about yourself and tell me about your business, she'll tell you about her family. And then she'll go straight into my business is doing well, highlight of her business, and then talk about probably the 7,000 things that she wants to work on to be better in her business. It's natural to want to be able to be better, right? To have that aspirational mindset of these are my opportunities and I'm going to be better in this aspect. But a lot of the times we get stuck on shit. This is my opportunity. And we get so stuck on the fact that this is an opportunity and we lose sight of all of the amazing things and ways of outreach that we could use to be able to make our impact on our team, in our family, in our community. And so this Strengths Finder quiz that you guys have taken or you guys are about to take, it's really trippy because it helps you understand a lot about yourself. Like you get to know yourself on a deeper level. And so that's what we're going to be talking about today is how to tap into that and trickle it into the people whom you work with or the people whom you are part of a group with, right? In this case, it's our builders and our uplines and cross lines and people who aren't even on our team but are seeking business advice, right? We want to make sure that we are, really being authentic and putting in all of our heart when it comes to these conversations. And that's what tapping into your strengths can really help you do. All right. Yay, you guys all have your strengths. I love it. I want to see what everyone has. Tiare has learner, belief, input, restorative, and achiever. I have restorative in common with you. We're problem solvers. I love it. Moana has discipline, analytical, deliberative, consistency, and relator. Whoa, I feel like you're a CEO. I love it. Calais, belief, input, responsibility, restorative, and intellection. Ashley's is focus, discipline, achiever, competition, and futuristic. Ashley and I have 2 in common. I have focus and futuristic. I love it. And it's natural that we all have something of Ashley, right? Because I feel like we found our way to this opportunity through her as a channel. And so it's common for us to have those same personality traits because that's why we ended up with her, right? Like we all say that people enroll with us because there are people, they're here for a reason. I think that's why we're all here is because of her somehow, right? So Ash, you're super special. I want to kick off our time today talking a little bit about my journey because I don't want you guys to just think I read a book or I read someone's horoscope or I read someone's personality test or I did 3,000 types of personality tests and read all about them all. I don't have the time to do that. Okay. But I will say that my 14 years working in retail and in management and in sales and service and talent development has gotten me to the point today where I feel confident in my role as a mentor. Okay. And so before we, as I'm going through this journey, I want you guys to define in the chat what you guys think is a mentor. Okay. My journey has always been in retail. Okay. And so when I was 15 and a half years old, just old enough in California to get a worker's permit from my front office in high school. Who remembers applying for work permits? I feel like that was silly. Just let me make money. But my first job was as a seasonal associate. And after working with that organization for, I was with them for 3.5 years, I got promoted to my first ever management position, which was a part-time assistant manager with Delia's. Does anyone remember Delia's? They're a catalog-based company. It's super mainland, so probably not, but Google it. They're cute. I mean, it was what I was into, like cute jeans and cardigans and graphic tees and stuff like that, right? Like who wasn't into that in high school? One of the things that I was coaching or that I was talking about a lot in terms of driving results, right? Because when you work in retail or customer service, you're selling something, some sort of product, tees, tank top, jeans, underwear, shoes, accessories, handbags. I've done probably all of the things that you can think of, okay? But when it comes to retail lingo, I'm sorry to drop some acronyms on here, but I just wanted to put it up on the screen so that way you guys can understand how my journey progressed. Wherever you are in retail, there's always going to be a KPI that you are measured upon, okay? So a KPI is a key performance indicator, and it is a numerical digit based off of a specific behavior. So for example, we had conversion, or common KPIs are conversion, ADS, and UPT. Raise your hand if you are a retail person. Have you ever worked in retail? And have probably all heard of these right now, right? How many times have you had a zone in, your manager's like, okay, we're going for $150 ADS today. And you're like, oh God, how are we gonna do that? We sell $40 t-shirts, right? So these are all starting to ring a bell to you. But if you guys haven't heard of these things before, these are just different metrics. So a conversion KPI is gonna be based off of how, if 100 people walk into your store and 10 of those people turn into a transaction, how many people are you converting based in percentage, right? So you would have a 10% conversion rate. a lot of retail stores, especially outdoor locations like in Ala Moana or Kamakana Ali'i, they have conversion-based stores because less people come into a mall. Well, minus Ala Moana, right? But less people come to that mall. So the higher the conversion they have, that means that they're taking advantage and really wooing, really capturing the attention of the people walking into the store. Whereas a higher traffic location like in Ala Moana, right, like a Pearl Ridge, they're just getting in the traffic. And so all they need to do is just to convert maybe 5 transactions an hour, okay? ADS is going to be your average dollar per sale. So based on all of the sales, it's just the average amount. So whatever the average of that would be. And the same thing with UPT. UPT is units per transaction. So how many physical items were in a transaction. The higher your UPT, the higher your ADS, right? So that's what my job was about, was making sure that our team was meeting our conversion and our ADS and UPT goals. And how I did this was by having IDPs, okay? IDPs were individual development plans where each associate that I was assigned 10 different associates. I would sit down and I would have a 15, 20-minute conversation with them based on their last week's report card. So we would get a report during the hours that, for example, Caitlin was working. This was her conversion, this was her ADS, this was her UPT, and that's what we would talk about. And we would go back and talk about that week versus the week before, and then the current month versus the month before. So that way we could talk about, things that they felt comfortable with, and things that maybe they felt like they wanted a little bit more training on, right? So that was really what my world was like as a part-time ASM at Delia's. Now, there was a lot of roles in between because I feel like as a teenager and kind of going into your early 20s, you're never really like attached to an organization, right? So you do a lot of jumping around. But when I was 20 years old, I got my first store as a store at PacSun as a store manager. And it was everything that I was doing at Delia's, managing a small staff like that, but the conversations became more broad. Okay, and so this was incorporating individual development plans with zone in and out communication. So zone ins were about, okay, hi, thanks for coming to your shift today. Here's our store sale goals. Here's the promotions we have going on. And here's where you're gonna be. Here's where I'm gonna be. And here's how we're gonna work together, okay? Versus a zone out would be, okay, thanks for coming and spending time with me today. We did amazing. We beat our segment sales. And, I love how you did this. And if there's one thing I want you to really pay attention to for your next shift, here's what I want you to focus on, right? And looks like you're working with Ashley next. So I'll loop her into the conversation that we had. That's what that was like. So it was managing those individual development plans, those progressions, on a larger scale, right? At Delia's, I was managing a group of 10 versus at PacSun as a store manager, I bumped up to 20 to 25 associates, okay? The next role that I wanna skip to is when I worked for Kate Spade New York. Has anyone been to the Kate Spade Waikele outlet? Raise your hand if you've been there. Yay, isn't it beautiful? It's pretty, huh? I opened that store all the way back in 2014, 2015 when it first opened, okay? And so I was the sales and service assistant store manager, and I focused really on the talent development and how that relayed and translated into the customer experience. And so the conversations that I had began to be more complex. So rather than just focusing on all of the amazing things and good job, keep it up, these MPPs, which were really just Kate Spade's versions of the IDPs from Delia's, right? They were called My Performance Plans, and they went both ways. So they had the celebratory conversations. You're doing amazing. Keep up the great work. Guess what? We're upping you from part-time to full-time, right? It incorporated that with corrective documentation and corrective conversations when someone wasn't doing so hot, okay? Or someone was resistant to your coaching, or someone wasn't fully aligned with the importance of the organization's goals, right? And so this was probably my hardest position I've ever been in. And the reason why is because I was having unsexy conversations. The conversations that I was having were borderline people losing their jobs and losing their income to pay for something for their families. Okay. And so that's scary. It's like, number one, I don't want to have that conversation. Number two, I don't know how to have that conversation. Number three, I need to practice because I don't want to be in that serious of a conversation and then just forget what I was supposed to say, right? And so I was in that role for about 2 years. And I will say that I still wasn't comfortable. The reason why I want to share that with you guys is because when you step into a mentor role, it's not something you just learn overnight. It's something that took me personally years to be able to fully feel like I'm confident in mastering. Okay. Now, fast forward to my district manager role at PacSun. My role here was a big one. Okay. And mind you, I wasn't running any of these individual stores. I wasn't hiring. I wasn't having these IDP conversations. I wasn't in the weeds, selling jeans and selling, sneakers like everyone was, right? And so my job wasn't to get those conversations done or to develop all the people. My job was to make sure that the people who were put in their spot to do those things were doing the things that they were supposed to be doing. So it becomes kind of like this little inception moment, right? Basically, my role as a district manager, I needed to create a vision for what I wanted for my district. And you know me, I'm like an overachiever, right? So it's like, I wanted to be the best at this. I wanted to be the best at this. I want to take this number and I want to cut it in half. And I did. When I first took the district here in Hawaii, they were losing money left and right. Okay. There's this number called shrink. Shrink basically is how much money you're losing due to theft, whether it be people coming in and stealing from your store, or employees lying and pocketing money, saying that they took a deposit to the bank, but they actually deposited it to their bank account, right? They were, showing up to their shifts and eating the whole time and not servicing customers, okay? In a matter of 10 months, we take our first audit. Basically, a company comes in and they count, it's so annoying. They count in all the units that you have. They scan every little single thing and they compare that to your inventory list. And the difference is the shrink number. Hawaii went from a 13% loss down to we were finding extra products and we were auditing from what the distribution was sending us. And we were actually ending up with extra products. So my district became the worst or was the worst in losing money due to just people not paying attention to no loss at all in a matter of 10 months. How did I do that? These conversations based on performance and someone's buy-in. You'll hear me talk a lot about buy-in tonight, right? So this picture here, just an FYI, is of my first big trip from when I first got promoted as a district manager. I was so excited to take an airport picture and show that I was going on my first big trip to go to a training. Love it. Okay. So now that you guys know where I'm coming from, let's talk about why, number one, I shared that with you, but two, why we're here together today and what you guys can take away. Okay. First, I want to read a couple of your guys's definitions about what a mentor is. And then what we're going to do is we're going to talk about my number one rule when it comes to this type of role. Okay. And then I want you guys to experience your strengths, adjust to your team's strengths, and then take action. Okay. A lot of the times when we read a horoscope or we read a personality test, we're like, oh yeah, that explains me, but then we don't do anything about it. We just say, that's how I am. I do that a lot as a Libra. Ben goes, what do you want for dinner? Oh, I don't know why you're asking me. I'm a Libra. I can't make a decision on what, anything, right? Anything that's not important. And I mean, your health and wellness is important to you, but for some reason, Libras can't make a decision of what to have for dinner. But you'll hear me say, oh, I'm a Libra, so I don't know the decision, right? In this world, that's not an answer, because in this world, when we say, oh, I'm a Libra, that means I can't pay my rent. Heavy, right? Oh, I'm just a Libra, so I can't pay my utility bills. Oh, I'm just a Libra, so I can't save for my dream home with my fiance one day. Oh, I'm just a Libra, but I can't afford to send my kids to the school that I want them to go to. I'm never going to be the person that lets you sit on your butt and say, that's just how it is. So if you plan to be that person, log off now. Okay, look, no one's logged off. So we're all here to take action, right? Cool. So for those of you guys who have your note-taking products ready to go, we're about to jump into it. Because to Ashley, oh, I lost it. Oh, look, people, you guys know what Delia's is. Okay, cool. I'm not that old. Did you guys see the squirts video that I posted the other day? Someone found out what a skort was and thought it was new. And I was just like dead inside. My spirit went to heaven. It's like, excuse me, I discovered it when I was 6.5. These are not new. Tiare says a mentor is someone who supports you and encourages you, challenges you to be your best. And then like Ash said, which I can't find her comment, a few steps ahead of you and can relate to where you've been, open, honest, and understanding. Charity says that a mentor is someone who helps to guide you along the way. They are someone who helps to build your belief in yourself and your capabilities. They aren't there to do everything for you. Yes, clap to that. But rather to guide and challenge you to see past limiting beliefs and help you find the answer to obstacles along the way. They know your goals and your dreams. They cheer you on, celebrate your wins, and meet you exactly where you meet them. Meeting you as far as you are meeting yourself. A mentor is someone that always leads with authenticity, integrity, and honesty, and someone who wants to see you be successful in work and in life. How do you follow up with that definition, right? That's a good one. I know, Brittany, boom, mic drop, Charity. There you go. I love it. Cool. I am going to say, Charity, I love you so much. You know I do, and we still need that coffee date. But I disagree. I think that your expectation as a mentor is too much. And as someone who has been in this role for a decade, it seems to, if someone doesn't give as much as you're willing to give, then it forces you in certain circumstances to deplete your cup, and you're not really pouring into anything. Okay. And so what you're going to see is that there's a couple different groups here today. There is the person who is super excited about this business and they're like, I have all these builders, I just don't know what to do with them, right? Okay, that's the first group. The second group is here because they felt like they've been leading their group, but no one's trickling along. It seems like I am the only one that is showing up for this vision and showing up for our customers, and I don't feel like everyone is doing it, right? And so all this is one big miscommunication, okay? And we're gonna take it to my number one rule. But I'm gonna tell you my number one rule only if everyone promises that they have to follow it. Show me that you're crossing your fingers. Cross your fingers, you have to follow this rule because I'm sharing it with you. Yay! It's not about how your way works. It's about finding the best way for your mentee to get the result they want. But I'm the leader, right? So if I set a goal, then Brittany on my team should just be down to make that goal happen. No, me and Brittany are two different people. I love apples, she loves bananas. So I'm not gonna think that bananas are important, and she's not gonna think that apples are important. But in order for her to feel successful, to build her confidence, to build that fearlessness that we want to see in this business from the people all around us, we can't teach it to her. She has to. And Brittany and I were just having this conversation a little while ago, right? Like the conversation, you know, I think sometimes me and Britt kind of just get lost in like conversations. It's either about Disney, it's either about Harry Potter, it's either about a TikTok video we want, or it's like some deep reflection. And we were in a deep reflection moment. And we were like, can you teach someone to be committed? Can you teach someone self-sufficiency? And we didn't disagree, but she was like, yes, you can. And I said, no, you can't. And she was like, oh, yes, you can. And I was like, no, you can't. Let me tell you why. Okay. Let me tell you guys why. My number one rule is possible through alignment and discovery. Okay. And so alignment is getting on the same page about the end result. Number one, it needs to be their goal, not yours. But your job as a mentor is to say, okay, that's what you're running with. What made you choose this goal? Was it something you experienced? Was it something that you were reflecting upon about your childhood, or maybe how you showed up in a different role? Okay. And why is this important to them? Now, here's the question that we don't ask when we are in those alignment conversations. What will happen if they don't meet their goal? How will they feel? What does it mean physically, financially, emotionally? Yep, okay, cool. Charity says, yeah, you cannot teach that. Yep, you can't teach that. Now, alignment questions and conversations are very different than discovery questions, okay? Alignment conversations need to happen first. And then the week later, you can activate your discovery questions. Okay, we've had some time to really think about, you know, what your goal was. Tell me, how are you going to achieve it? Okay, and this boils down to they have the skill. If not, I need to help them acquire it. Do they have the resources? If not, I need to help them understand what and who those resources are. Okay, and so Charity's comment about what is a mentor is true to some extent. But unless you have that alignment, if you go in it full head and heart, like Charity always does, she may be investing, someone may not be receiving. And then my fear is that Charity will question her authenticity and her message and how she did things, when in reality, the alignment conversation never happened to begin with, okay? And so this rule, it's not about how your way works. It's about finding the best way for your mentee to get the results they want. You are their guide. You are their shaman. Okay, you're helping them spearhead through this field of lavender essential oil flowers to get to diamond, to get to platinum, to get their 1500 power of 3, right? We all want those things. So it's nice because in this business, we all have the same goals. But in my role, working in retail, I had to deal with different people's goals. One person wanted to focus on loss, another person wanted to focus on conversion, another person wanted to focus on shipment manifesting, right? And so I feel like it's easier to manage here because we all want the same thing, right? We all want to up rank, we all want to solidify our business, we all want to max out on commissions, right? And so it's easier to have the conversations here. As long as you have the alignment conversations and then you have the discovery questions. And so here's what I like to do. At the beginning of every month, or a certain parameter of time, whether it be a quarter, right? Because some of you guys mentor with us bi-weekly, right? So if you mentor less frequently, then it's important for you to look at the bigger picture because you need to understand what you're doing in between. Whereas if you're having weekly mentorship, weekly mentor calls, right? It's easier to kind of stay in touch and manage things better. So what I like to do based on a weekly mentor call system is the first week of the month, I will have the alignment conversations. Okay, Tiare, how did you end February? What were your goals in February? Did you meet them? Why did you meet them? How can we replicate that in March? Why didn't you meet them? What can we do differently in March? Was there a skill that we were missing? Was there a resource that we were missing? Was there a routine that we should have changed, but we didn't recognize the opportunity to change? Okay. Then after that alignment, we talk about, okay, we're in March now. So what's your goal? What made you choose this goal? Why is it important? What will happen if it comes to April, our next alignment call? And you say, Alexis, I didn't hit my goal. What does that mean for you, right? When we have that conversation, what does that mean? That means that Tiare told you what she was going to do for that month. And now your job turns into, okay, you have a plan. Next week, I want you to tell me about your plan. And you're going to make sure that they answer a majority of these questions for you, if not all of them. Okay. So the next week I talked to Tiare and she goes, okay, so this is how I've set up my month. My routine looks like this. My schedule looks like this. This is what I'm going to do if I can't do this. And this is my names list. And this is the time I have set aside for this. But last month I struggled on this. So this is what I want to talk to you about, right? She clearly has the skill if she comes to you with that itinerary. But what we need to ask is, what will happen if they don't meet their goal? We know what we can control, but what can't we control, and who do we partner with to get assistance for the things we can't control? Okay. Now, pause there. I want to talk to you guys about my top 5 strengths, because understanding my top 5 strengths, when I got that 17-page email about all of the, breakdowns and different acronyms and what this meant and how I should interact with people based on this, it was like, I'm reading my life, right? And I feel like that's how a lot of you guys felt when you guys got your results as well. And so I like to tell everyone that just learning and experiencing my top 5 strengths was my biggest ever learning moment, biggest ever. And it was the first time in my life that I was open to, okay, I'm really blank in this area. And so I need to tone it down a little bit, or I'm lacking here. And so I want to be better. So this is what I need to do, right? Prior to that, I was the girl that was like, my way or the highway, not you're out of here. Bye. Because that's how it was in retail, right? If someone wasn't going to show up and be on board with your vision, okay, I'm going to find someone else who is. We don't have that here. Ashley doesn't pay me to be her qualifier. I don't pay Peyton or Chelsea or Abby or Selena, anyone on my team, to be on my team. Okay. And so earlier, when I said my role as a district manager is to get someone on board with my vision, whatever you think is important, even if it's the same as me and Ashley, or if it's different than me and Ashley, it's what you believe in. And so your job in this particular business is to have people be bought in to what your vision is, because then if they do, they turn into your customer. And you continue to do that, they're a consistently ordering customer. Okay, they're on that LRP. Best case scenario, you pop a builder, and then you have someone who is joining your vision of whatever that is. Okay. And so for me, just so you guys know a little bit more about me, my number 1 strength is significance. And so this is what this looks like. When I met my first regional director as a district manager, the first conversation that she had with me sounded like this. Hi, Alexis. Okay, tell me about last week. What? Hi, Alexis. Tell me about your last week. lady, this is the first time I've ever met you. This is the first time we've spoken outside of email. I'm ready with a hi, how are you? How is everything? Tell me about yourself. Where did you grow up? Tell me about your family. When did you move to Hawaii? The please and the thank you and the positive affirmation, that matters to me so much. Okay. And I think that where you guys can relate to this is like, I want everyone to like me. So for every interview I've had in my entire life, I knew that if they smiled or if I got them to laugh, yes, they love me. That's like I'm like a people pleaser in that aspect. I just want everyone to get along. I want everyone to appreciate each other. I want everyone to reciprocate love and affection and respect and intellect, right? That matters to me. And so anytime, and my team knows this too, when we go into our calls, strategy sessions, our mentor calls, we talk about how life is, how we actually are doing. How is our physical health? How is our mental health? How are our significant others and family members doing? And then we go into a 15, 20-minute strategy sesh about, okay, are we aligned? Have you been along with your plan, right? Okay, why not, right? Those are the conversations that we have. And that's just who I am, right? My second one is restorative. Raise your hand if you have restorative. I know Tiare has it. I think Ashley, no, you may not have this one. I think you have focus and futuristic with me, right? If you have restorative, you are a problem solver. You cannot handle when, for example, Ben goes, I'll fix it. And I'll be like, he ain't fixing that. I'm gonna fix it, right? That's what if there's a problem, I'm here to fix it. If my best friend comes to me and they're venting just to vent, I won't recognize that as a vent session. I'm going to tell them what to do. Okay. That is your restorative person. My number 2 and 3 go well together because my number 3 is strategy. And I am such a big problem solver that I never want to have to deal with that problem again. So I'm going to create a strategy to prevent that from happening. Okay. My 3, 4, and 5 go together. And this is, I think, the ability to plan things on a larger scale. A lot of the times when you ask someone how they build their calendar, some people build it on a weekly perspective and they build 2 weeks at a time. Some people build it on a monthly perspective. Some people build it on a quarterly perspective, and some people build it on an annual perspective. My numbers 3, 4, and 5 allow me to easily see things on a biannual perspective. So I actually plan 2 years out in advance because I have focus and futuristic. So futuristic is like, I want a home one day. And focus means that here are the things I'm going to do in between to get there. And I'm not going to let anything stop me. Now, understanding that, I want to challenge you guys too, if you haven't already, and if you took your StrengthsFinder test and you haven't really taken the time to be aware or present with what you recently discovered, take the time. Okay, when I was learning my first strength, my mentor at that time didn't push me into having any mentor conversations until I spent a month in my own feelings and my own thoughts with myself. And I had 2 big learning moments here. And this is why I want you guys to really experience that, right? I noticed, number 1, what I was paying attention to and what I wasn't paying attention to. Okay, I got that. Cool. Let's go back and reread to make sure I didn't miss anything. And when I was discovering the details that I missed, at first I would get mad and be like, how the heck could you miss that? It's in bold or it's in a separate paragraph, right? Like sometimes we get really mad at ourselves. But what was actually happening was I was learning how to take the time to slow down and understand the deeper details. So that way I'm more apt to make better and well thought about decisions. And then figure out, do I need to do this by myself or can I include my team and how can I include them? Okay. The second thing that I learned, and this was a huge, huge, huge one, and it had a really big impact on my mental health, especially, was that it's okay to not have things go the exact way that you planned. I know this one's tough. It's really, really, really tough. It is the trigger of my anxiety. And I always have to remind myself to be graceful with this, right? What my strengths taught me was that being flexible is way more important than even having a plan to begin with, because that's not how life is. So how can we go into life with that expectation? And so my experiences with a strength-based mentor versus a non-strength mentor sounded like this. Charity, that was amazing. How can you do that again for me next month? Or it sounded like, Charity, that sucked. I never want you to do that again. That's so different. Which one do you want to work for? Which one do you want to play the game with, right? The first or the second one? Drop that in the chat. Number one or number two? In the moments that I messed up, okay, a strength-based mentor, someone who understood my top 5 strengths, understood how to get me out of my funk and get me reinvigorated and motivated to get back to making my vision come true. Versus, you know what you did wrong, right? So you'll never do that again. Which one would you rather, which one would you be more open to having a conversation on how you can get better? That's really the night and day of what it's like to be a mentor, and why I want you guys to really spend some time discovering and really being aware of your own individual strengths first. Because then when you do, it's time to meet your mentees where they're at, okay? Remember my rule, it's not about you, what you want and how you want them to make that happen, right? It's about what they want and how you're gonna help them get there. And so in situational leadership, when you understand someone's strength, you have to meet them where they're at and start the conversation there. Can it progress? Yes. Some really hard, tedious, really detailed conversations 6 months later can be a, okay, you know what to do? Yeah, okay, what are you gonna do? Okay, got it, cool, let me know what you need help with. They can gradually progress with your help. But it's important to know where they're at and meet them where they're at to get them to where you want them to be, okay? So we have D1, D2, D3, and D4. D1 means that they're either really new and they're still learning, and then develop means that they're the pro, they've been this, they've shown you that they can do it, they've been top enroller, they've solidified their rank, they're reaching for, you know, they're reaching to get to, you know, solidifying 1, 2, and 3 in a row, right? And so how this is broken down is someone who is a D1 is low competence and high commitment. Okay, so we're going to talk about skills and buy-in, commitment. So low competence sounds really mean, but this just basically means that they're in a beginner stage, okay? But they're here, they're excited, they're ready to go, they show up to team calls, they show up to trainings, they're sending you their strategy check-ins, right? That's a D1. A D2 is someone who is still learning, but they're not committed. Okay. Something is getting in the way of them thinking that the work to do is important. A D3, they're getting the hang of it. Okay. They're taking the training wheels off. They're moderate to high competence. And variable commitment is based off of their confidence here. Okay. So the difference between D2 and D3 is confidence. It's, yeah, I've done this before. Okay, I got this. Or, oh, I've only done this once before, Ashley. Can you watch me? That's a D3. It depends, right? When someone is a D3 for a certain amount of time, they naturally become a D4 because repetition kicks in. That moderate competence turns into high competence. They've done this X amount of times, okay? It's easy. They probably have refined their to-do by that point. And they're committed. Why? Because They're the pro. They know they're doing amazing. They know they're getting the result. They're getting the bonus. They're hitting silver 10 days before the month end, right? Now, the one thing I want you to be on the lookout for is D2. And here's the reason why. Let's say, for example, Kristen starts as a D1. 6 months later, she's a D3. And then all of a sudden, 2 months later, you're like, what the hell happened? She's a D2. What is happening here? What's her skill set? Was there a new training that she missed? Like what's happening here? No, she didn't miss any of those things. She comes to team calls, all those things, right? So it's not her skill set. What's her commitment like? Right? And so now we're talking about where you need to be at in terms of how your conversations should go. And so there's 4 quadrants here. You have low to high directive behavior, telling them what to do. Who are your resources? What forms are you using? And then over here, you have low to high supportive behavior. You're doing such a great job. So a cheerleader mode, right? And so here how these guys look together. Okay. So when someone is in a D1 phase, developmental level, your conversation should be high directive. So you're telling them what to do, and low supportive behavior, because you don't need to boost their commitment levels. They're already committed, right? So your attention needs to go here. If someone is a D3, okay, so they've graduated from an S1 to an S3, they're taking their training wheels off, they feel confident in certain things, but maybe struggle in this one part of the class. You'll see a lot of the times the variation in the form of someone can teach an entire basics class and then not feel confident in talking about enrollments, talking about starter kits, right? So with that person, you're not going to need to give them a lot of direction because they've done it so many times. But what you're going to need to do is be more supportive and say, Britt, why are you so nervous? Oh, I understand. But you do know that you taught this class 23 times last month, right? You got this. You got this. Right? That's what that sounds like. Now, and Kristen, I used her as a D2 in a certain situation earlier. She's a total D4. Okay, so a lot of my conversations with Kristen are in this green realm here. I say, Kristen, tell me how your business is going. She tells me her goals. She tells me where all these people are doing and her plan and how her mentoring is working, right? And so I'm like, okay, that sounds good. Okay, well, what about this? Oh, okay, cool. You got that, right? You thought about that. Okay, what do you need from me? She doesn't need a lot of support from me because she knows what she's doing, right? Okay, so that D2 that I told you guys to be careful about, orange, my least favorite color. This is my least favorite phase that someone is in, and I'm going to call it a phase, okay? And because I want you to remember when we were back here, alignment and discovery question, we really need to start taking a look at, are we having the right type of conversations? And if we are we asking all of the right questions? And the right questions are not just the sunshines and rainbows conversations either. They are the, what will happen, Britt, if you don't meet your goal? What can you control? Great, but what can't you control? And how are you going to get around that? Okay. So it's important to return back to the alignment and the discovery questions, because you have to make sure that when someone is in a D2 developmental phase, you are having a lot more alignment and accountability conversations, because you're giving them high directive and you're being a cheerleader for them. Okay, because you have to reestablish their skill set, and you also have to reestablish and build their confidence. But you can't always do that And the reason why I don't like D2 is because I've lost some people along the way. And the important thing to remember as a mentor is it's not your fault. Okay? That's why earlier when everyone was like, yeah, Charity, that's a great definition of a mentor. And when I disagreed, everyone was like, oh my God, that's not what we should be. Ashley mentioned we're doing it wrong a little bit, okay? And the reason why is because you can't teach someone self-sufficiency. You can't teach someone commitment unless they want it for themselves. And so from both a mentee and a mentor position, D2 is the most difficult, okay? And I wanna share with you guys about the most difficult D2 I've ever had in my life. This person, when I was working as a district manager, was my rock. Like this person I had promoted 3 times before the current role that I had put them in. And I honestly, to this day, have no idea what I could have done better because I took him through D1, D2, D3, D4, and just one day, the level of commitment wasn't there anymore. He just didn't care. And so rules were broken, policies were broken, employees were lied to, I was lied to. And so the reason why I don't want you guys to skip out on those alignment conversations is because even though I had them, I had that peace of mind in that particular situation that I absolutely did everything in my power to help that person get to where they wanted to be. When you mentor in a way where where the ball is in that person's court, then their results are never based on you. Their results are based on them. And I think that as an individual, understanding what it's like to be a mentor in that specific phase, D2, how hard it is to bring someone out of that, that's why I think that you really can't teach someone how to be committed and self-sufficiency, right? It's because they have to have a life experience for them to think that that's important, to think that, you know, I need to show up, I need to clock in, I need to get these things done, I need to do my pipes, I need to add this person to my names list, I need to follow up and send this text message, even though I don't feel comfortable because I was ghosted 14 times before, right? D2 turns into those limiting beliefs that it's so hard for us to come back to. I'm not worthy of that rank. I could never run my social media like her. I'm not pretty enough. I can't afford those things. I'm not deserving of that lifestyle. Raise your hand if you've ever told yourself one of those unsexy limiting beliefs. Me, if I had 15 hands to raise, I would have raised all 15 plus the extra 5 I found somewhere. We've all felt that way. And that's because in that moment, we didn't know we were in that D2 phase. Okay. So that really is the training today. What I want to tell you and what I said at the beginning of this class is that stepping into a mentorship, into a leadership role where you're guiding people, like how we are in this business, it's not something that can be developed overnight. Okay, it took me years and years and years and years and years to feel confident with this, but Ashley has been challenging me with this for a while. I have been doing a lot of reflection on how I wanted to make an impact in our community. And when I say community, this community here, and I want to be available for you guys if you guys want to receive this type of support from me. And so I want you guys to know that I'm thinking through how I can best support you, and then also have time to change my mind 50 times about the linens for my upcoming wedding in 5 months. While also saving for a house and, you know, a new car and all these things, right? All these amazing things that Ben and I are about to be experiencing in the next couple of years, babies, right? I want to make sure that, you know, I have the time carved out for you guys and that it works best for everyone, and allows, you know, me as a mentor to be able to keep my cup full while also pour into you guys as you guys pour into your leaders and so on. So just know that I'm working on a mentorship program to help you mentor your people. And I will work with Ashley on communicating that to you when it's ready. But just know that I'm wanting to be here for you guys. I'm wanting to put my years and years and years of mentoring and leadership in retail into effect for this team. So just know that that's going to be available for you guys soon. So it's not just a one and done moment like, okay, you guys got this, you good, right? Like I'm going to step into a role where I can help you guys, you know, through these amazing and also difficult conversations to have, right? And that's the last thing I wanted to leave you guys on, right? Is that being a mentor isn't sunshines and rainbows, right? Although we want to help our people get to the next rank and solidify their business and have enough money to bring their husband home and, you know, have enough money to homeschool their kids or, you know, get extra help somewhere, right? We have to have the tough conversations. If we didn't have to have the tough conversations, then life would be super easy and we wouldn't need mentors, right? Because life would just be handed to us, but it's just not how it works. Even if we sit down and we're like, okay, by the time I'm 22, I'm gonna be married. And by the time I'm 24, I'm gonna have 2 kids. That's literally what I was telling myself. I'm gonna have the best wedding dress. I'm gonna have this big ball gown dress. And none of that stuff turned out the way that I wanted it to, right? But even though it was me doing the work and having the learning moments and crying and yelling and being frustrated and progressing and regressing, there was always a mentor along the way that helped steer and guide me in the right direction. And now that I've been in that role for over a decade, I want to be that for you guys. So just know that I'm here for you. And if you guys have any questions, now's the times to ask, or then I guess we can talk about what the support looks like going forward when it comes to that point. I'm still thinking. I want to be like super like cute about it too, right? So, yay. Okay, Britt is not a dumb question. Not at all. There's no such thing as a dumb question. Will someone's strengths change? Like if I took it last year, it wouldn't change, right? Or is it more horoscope and you were just born with it? They will change. And the reason why is because you're not the same person as you are when you were 5, right? And you're definitely not the same person you are when you were 25. And so what I will say is that you won't see a strengths change from one year to the other. I will say that you won't even see changes from 1 to 3, maybe 4 or 5 years. Okay. Since I took this quiz in 2017, none of my strengths have changed. But in my 7, 8, and 9, those have varied a little bit. So you might see a little bit of a variation depending on the life events that you experience, depending on how you handle certain traumas, right? How do we all come back from 2020? That may, in 2 years, we may have a different, not a completely different set, but we may have a variance in what our top 13 strengths look like. But regardless, it's who you are. And so you'll see minimal change, if any. Good question. Yeah. Okay, I'm looking for any other questions. Oh, I don't have the answer to that. Ashley goes, how do we come back from 2020? I don't think anyone knows the answer to that. And I think that that's okay. I don't know if anyone has told you that today. I think that usually this group is like, we have to have a plan D, right? Plan number 4, just in case A, B, and C works. But if anyone hasn't told you, I think that it's okay to still be processing 2020. But I think that I will say that when you are ready to start processing 2020, you are already healing, right? Any other questions? Was that a lot? That was a lot of information, right?
Hi, I have a question.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, sorry. Anyways, I was wondering, are there any resources like books or anything that you can think of or that you've come across that help us hone in on our strengths?
I'm looking at my library. I love to read books and smell them. Like, okay, I don't know about you, but like I used to love going to the library because when you would find the old books with the yellow pages, I just don't know, it smells so good, right? So are you a book person, or can you like read something electronically, or do you need like the audio? You just renewed your library card? Okay, she says audio is okay. Okay. I'm not an audio person, but I will say that depending, trying to give you the best answer. I knew that this question and answer section would be hard because it's so individual, right? I wouldn't say a podcast. And the reason why is because a lot of podcasts are opinion based, right? It's based off of someone's experience. If you are discovering, still in the phase where you just learned about your strengths and you're experiencing them, right? What I miss Barnes and Nobles too, whoever wrote that. Let's see. Sorry, Ash, these are not on the recommended reading list. These are just from like the things that like I've done in my life. So the first one is the book. If you guys go to what used to be Borders, but Barnes and Nobles, there is the Strengths Finder 2.0 book. On the back of the cover, Ashley was talking about that earlier, you get your unique access code to take your strengths quiz. I like the book. I'm a pen to paper person, but I like that book because it has a breakdown of all of your different strengths. So it gives you an overview of what that strength means. It gives you examples of what that sounds like in the real world with real people. And then it gives you ideas for action based off of having that strength. Okay. And just by reading that, you will be able to see, okay, oh my God, that's how I action. I realize I do that. It's the awareness that I want you guys to feel, right? And then the last section is working with others who have significance. That would be, how you work with others and you communicate, right? So once you play with that, you memorize your top strengths, right? You'd read a lot of the blogs available from the Gallup site. The next book that I recommend is Blink by Malcolm Gladwell. There's another popular book that he makes. But this book, it's The Power of Thinking Without Thinking. And it helped me, in my experience, it helped me really understand the decision-making process of how those strengths made an impact on me, right? And so, for example, for my number one, significance, right? A lot of the times my decisions were made off of an experience I had with someone or a team. It was made based off of the way that someone felt, right? And so that was how I made my decisions going forward. And this book kind of helps you really understand where that information comes from. And so just an FYI, this digs into a little bit of childhood trauma and the experiences that you have, but childhood trauma is not always bad. It helps you really understand how you make decisions later on in life and how you're influenced, right? Oh my gosh, Ashley is like the Google right now with the references and the links. That's a good question. Yeah, but these are the two books that I was really reading during the time where I was like, whoa, this person didn't ask me how I was doing. What the heck? we need to talk about this. How was their weekend, right? Like, you know, in order for me to get down to the business, I need to feel comfortable with you. We're working as a team, right? Like, let's do this as a team. That's my mindset. Yay. And then I do know that Malcolm Gladwell's book is an audiobook. So that's something that you could, you know, do in an audio version. But the strengths book, it's really like a dictionary. Like, you guys should have this on hand all the time because it's something good to reach back to. Yay. Any other questions? Those were really good questions. Okay. All right, guys. Well, thank you for listening. Thank you for your questions. Thank you for your time. Thanks, Ashley, for inviting me here today. And then I will be in touch with everyone on how I can support you in this type of perspective soon. So stay tuned.